Good afternoon, everyone. The Finance and Investment Cell, in collaboration with IQAC, Shri Ram College of Commerce, is honored to welcome our esteemed speaker, Colonel Rajyavardhan Rathore, Faculty Advisor, Dr. Saroj Joshi, Coordinator of IQAC, Dr. C.S. Sharma, staff members, and all participants to the first session of Shri Ram Financial Forum 2020-21. Finance and Investment Cell, Shri Ram College of Commerce, is a university-wide student initiative to share financial knowledge, explore economic and geopolitical ideas, and create opportunities. Colonel Rajyavardhan Singh Rathore is an Indian politician and an Olympian. A member of Parliament in Lok Sabha from the Jaipur Rural constituency, he served as the Minister of State, Independent Charge for Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, and Minister of State, Independent Charge for Information and Broadcasting in the Government of India till May 2019. Colonel Rathore has served as a commissioned officer in the Grenadiers Regiment of the Indian Army before retiring in 2013. Colonel Rathore has a long list of awards and recognitions conferred upon him for both delivering exceptional services during his career as an army man and for being an outstanding sportsperson. Some of these are Ati Vishisht Seva Medal, Padam Shri, Khel Ratna and Arjuna Award. Following his retirement from the army and shooting, he joined politics and became the member of the parliament from Jaipur Rural constituency in 2014. In 2014, he was made Minister of State for Information and Broadcasting, and he was given the additional charge of Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports in 2017. As an Olympian, he has won numerous international medals in double trap shooting, including a silver medal at the 2004 Summer Olympics in men's double trap event, thereby becoming the first individual medal winner for India. We are honored to have you with us, sir. I would now like to invite our faculty advisor, Dr. Saroj Joshi, to welcome everyone.
Thank you, Tarini. Good afternoon, all. I, Saroj Joshi, on behalf of Finance and Investment Cell and IQAC, SRCC, welcome you all to the session on the topic, the new normal. And it is giving me immense pleasure to have Mr. Rajyavardhan Singh Rathore, Member of Parliament, Lok Sabha, with us. Thank you very much, sir, for taking out your valuable time for SRCC with us. So I request you now to take over the session and enlighten. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, madam, and thank you so much, Tarini. All the lovely people who are watching this. I really can't see all of you right now, but I assume you're all watching me. So thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to interact with all of you. These are very testing times, undoubtedly, and it's a challenge for all of us. Whatever IHPB, especially I think 2 generations, yours and mine. You very well understand that when a calamity like this, which is not restricted in time and space, hits a country, and not just the country, but the entire world, it calls upon leadership to take action and come up with steps so that there's least amount of damage to the people, to its citizens, and also to the way we live. And to that extent, I'm sure we all are proud that given the scale and size of our country, given the perceptions of our country in minds of people from across the world, who when they visit India, they say, well, there seems to be no order on the roads, and this country lives in chaos. But despite that chaos, we've presented an example to the entire world that when India decides, all its citizens and 130 crore citizens can actually think and work in the same direction, which is amazing. Which is amazing, and that speaks volumes of our leadership at various levels. At the highest level, of course, the Prime Minister, his decisions, his cabinet, the various ministers. But I also talk about leadership at the smallest level, that is villages. I come from a rural constituency, and therefore I can vouch for it, and you all will be very proud that every village has people, including youth, who are helping ease out the difficulties that are there because of this whole situation, and also serve food and rations to people who do not have the ease of life, as we all do, including the migrant laborers and everyone. So it's leadership at all levels. That having said, I think disruptions always give opportunities as well. I remember when I just started competing at the Olympics, and the rules of my sport were changing again and again. I used to feel very happy every time the rule would change, because it would cause disruption, and it would cause the set order at that point of time. You know, the hierarchy, somebody's already an Olympic medalist and somebody's a world champion. The hierarchy would change because the rules were changed. And then it would give a person like me, who's not really started off, an opportunity to excel. So here's the chance for all of you in colleges, looking out to make a career for yourself, looking out. I mean, you've got a whole life ahead of you. And that's why I said there are two generations that can make a difference to everything that we are going through in this world, your generation and my generation. I've already spoken a bit about my generation, but now comes the chance of your generation, which is you will be able to work through many, many years and create the new world order, create the new India, create new businesses. So yes, there lies an opportunity in every disruption, and such a major one where it's not just limited to our country, but across the whole globe. But let's say, is there fear? Of course, there is fear. There is fear of, what will I do now? I was already getting a job offer, and now they've revoked the job offer. What will I do now? I had already decided my next 5 years. I would go and study abroad in so-and-so college, and then go to so-and-so college, and then I would probably get an offer from these companies. I understand that many of you already have things planned out. And then there are some like me who have no plans at all, who just go by the flow of things. But yes, so the fear hits all of us and says, what now? What are we going to do now? I can assure you another thing. I've been through fear, situations of fear in multiple circumstances. I remember when my time in Kashmir, when I was doing anti-terrorist operations. I was commanding my company. I was just about 23, 24 years of age. I had about 120 men under me, a very large area under me. Our task was to neutralize the terrorists there. And every night, every day, we used to be out operating. And the fear would hit us when we were in contact with the enemy, but we didn't know where the enemy was. We knew the enemy is around, but we didn't know where the enemy was. That's the time there was fear. And as soon as the firing would start, the contact would take place with the terrorists, the fear would go away. Why? Because the action would take over. So the suspense is always fearful, more fearful than the real thing. If I tell you that there's threat of something and you don't know what that threat is, then there's more fear. Then if I were to tell you there is threat of A, B, C, and you know what A, B, C, and is, then there is less of fear. So action takes over. So yes, fear is there, that jobs, career, but what I'm trying to tell you is the fear can inculcate greater focus. And when the greater focus comes and you put yourself into action, then the fear will subside. So there are amazing amount of opportunities. The greatest opportunity that you all have is the fact that you are Indians. At this point of time, out of all the nations, and I can compare myself when I was probably a teenager to now, there's a massive difference. India is amongst the top of the nations in terms of global standards, right? Every country is looking at us for whatsoever reasons, for variety of reasons. Firstly, we are the largest consumers in the whole world. Everyone wants their products to come to India. Everyone wants that somehow India should be connected to their products so the sales go up. We are the largest consumers. We are the largest market. We also have, if you see in terms of population of educated and talented youth, can any country compete with us apart from one or two nations? So we have the largest number of educated young youth. Firstly, of course, you all know we have the largest youth. Then we have the largest talented young youth. So we are the largest market. We are also the largest in terms of youth, talented youth. And therefore, that's a great opportunity in itself. I can, look at the percentage of people who study in colleges like yours, right? What percentage of India would that be? Very, very small percentage. So you have to feel that confidence in yourself, that belief in yourself. You come up all this to this point, not just by whiling away your time, right? You deserve to be here. And that's why you are there. You worked hard. You are talented. You are educated, and therefore that should give you a sense of belief and confidence. Even if there are students from other colleges, I'm sure they're very reputed colleges, and therefore that should give you a sense of belief and confidence. And what you all need is hunger to do something, right? If you're hungry to achieve something, you will achieve it. Many times I am asked this question that, what makes a champion? After all, we come from the same society, right? How is it different? And when I say when we come from the same society, I'm really talking about the entire globe. We are same people. We are same humans, right? We have same fears. We have same aspirations. And we have similar backgrounds. So what really makes a champion? The first and foremost thing is hunger, right? You've got to be really hungry to do something, right? At the cost of anything else, I want this. That's what hunger is. That day and night, I'm going to spend all my effort for this. This is what I want. That produces that hunger. When you have hunger, what does that produce? That produces knowledge, right? When you're hungry to do something, you will automatically go find out about how do I do this? Okay, you are saying this, so-and-so is saying this, let me get more options available. Again, to give you a small little example, when I started shooting and I was aspiring to be an Olympic shooter, India didn't have coaches at that point of time. So how do we learn? Where do we learn? Who gives us the guidance? So I went onto the internet, and I didn't really know how to handle internet at that point of time. So I got myself a second-hand computer. I put that in my room. In the night, I used to work on. In the day, I used to be training. In the night, I used to work on very simple, just putting keys and typing and finding out what the internet is all about. And then accessing documents which the foreign coaches have written. So I started acquiring, to cut the story short, I started acquiring knowledge from all the coaches around in the world. My competitors, I started finding out, I started reading their interviews. From their interviews, I would find out how they shoot, what goes on in their mind, what do they do before the competition, what do they do during the competition. And acquiring that knowledge, I was beating the same people, right? So you need knowledge. So hunger gets you knowledge, but just knowledge is not enough. Then you've got to put it into action. So you need to go out and try your hand at whatever you're skilled at or whatever you want. Somebody wants to set up a startup, a software company. Somebody wants to put up a restaurant. Somebody wants to do probably a collaboration and get many people on board. But whatsoever you want to do, there has to be ABC of that. So just by reading ABC steps is not going to get you anywhere. Probably you can write a textbook, but not more than that. So you got to act out, and then there will be results, right? So some people call the results success. Some people call it failures. I just call them result. I mean, it's up to you whether you like the result or you don't like the result. But when you have hunger and when you have knowledge and when you put that into action, you are bound to get a result. And that result, more likely than not, is going to be to your liking. And if it is not to your liking, you're going to change the input into it. So keep at it. Consistency is also is one of the key. Somebody I was reading somewhere that what is more stronger is water more stronger or a rock more stronger? Of course, everybody will say a rock's more stronger. Then when there are mountains in the path, how come the rivers make their way through the mountains? So what's stronger? So water is not stronger. What is happening is that water is consistent. It's consistently hitting the rock again and again and again and again, and never failing to do so. And therefore, it makes a path. So hunger, knowledge, action, and then consistency. And don't fear for results. Results will come. They'll be sometimes good. They'll be sometimes all right. They'll sometimes be not palatable, but that's okay. You just got to keep at it. And mind you, I've specifically used the word result. I haven't used the word success, because I always feel, success is, especially when you read about success in magazines, it's very overrated. You have to have a Lamborghini or something, you have to have a Ferrari or something, or you need to have a plush house or something to be called so-called success as per the magazines. I don't subscribe to that at all. So success is, you got to define your own success. Especially now when you go out and create your own life, right? Like I mentioned a little while earlier, the first and best thing is that we are part of this country, which is one of the best countries in the world. And then you look at it, we have the population, with the largest population. Look at the number of religious places we have. It's one of the largest. Look at the geography. Again, it's one of the largest. Look at the tourist sighting places. I think it's one of the largest. You just think of anything, and India is right there. So you have tremendous amount of opportunities. I mean, look at the farm sector. I mean, I come from a rural constituency. Look at the farm sector. From farm to the market, there's so much of scope there, right? There are so many middlemen there. There's so many unfinished products there. There's uncertainties there. If you take out the uncertainties, take out the middleman, you come up with a method to connect the farm to the market by finished products. Just look at it, how much of value you would be adding, not just to yourself, but to the entire length and breadth of the country. Talking again of the farmers, what do we have? We have very small farm holdings, right? We don't have farmers who say, I have 1,900 acres of land and I have 2,500 acres of land. It's not like America. Here a person would have at the best 2 acres of land, 1.5 acres of land, and it's the families are increasing, the land is remaining the same, and therefore it's getting divided. So they are very small holdings. But what if you were to bring all the farmers together, like a farmer producers organization, right? Now, these farmers have no link to banks. They don't have that much of knowledge of the banks. They have no knowledge of markets, what to grow. They just look around left and right, and जो पड़ोसी ने लगाया होता है या जो सुनते हैं वो बो देते हैं वहाँ पर. तो कभी market में अच्छी बिक्री होती है. Sometimes there's excess of onions in the market. There's excess of tomatoes, and they perforce have to just throw it on the road because there's nobody to pick that up at the value that they want to sell. So in terms of food processing units, there's so much that can be done through technology and through use of brains, connecting from the banks to the markets to food processing units and everything. Look at the concept of now. We also understand that a lot of migrant labor has gone back. Right now, what has happened? I've been speaking regularly to some of the manufacturers. The manufacturers say that, despite the fact that they were willing to do everything for the labor, the skilled labor, they still wanted to go back because of this fear factor. Now, as I understand, a lot of skilled labor for any particular industry, take shoe industry, take furniture industry, take any of the industry, the skilled labor comes from a certain place, right? Now, what if you were to shift your manufacturing units closer to where the skilled labor resides, right? Now, we also understand that now as a nation, we are a lot different with all the communication lines, all the roads, all the express highways. It's making it easier for goods to travel from where they're being manufactured to where the market is. right? So therefore, moving the manufacturing units may not be much of an issue, but skilled labor could be an issue in times to come. Because of this whole situation, skilled labor might not want to come back, right? So moving the manufacturing units closer to where the skilled labor is. It also goes along with the concept of Government of India, which is, I'm sure you recollect the freight corridors, right? The concept of freight corridor was simply that we will be able to have these manufacturing units along the highways, away from big cities and closer to smaller towns or villages. And therefore, the young people would get up in the morning from their village, come down, traveling just a few kilometers, come down to the industrial unit, work there, and go back. Now, what happens with that is the whole concept of freight corridor was that it's easy for the freight to move on those expressways, and it's very simple for the workforce to have a good quality life, because they would be living in their own houses, closer to their villages, not having to come to bigger cities by force, and thereby live a substandard life in the cities, because cities are built for a certain amount of population. The moment it goes beyond that, then it's all substandard life, and the dignity of human life is not there. So that's where the freight corridors come in. And so there are this sort of migration of laborers can give rise to an opportunity to create and work along the freight corridors. The service sector, now everybody, the way you want things now, the way you want food delivered to you, or the way you want various products to be delivered to you at home, you're not willing to go out. Many of us may not be willing to go out for a certain duration of time. The service sector, look at education, look at this. We all are talking now. I mean, I would be so happy to be in SRCC right now and talking to you, all of you in person. But here we are through a service industry, and we are talking through these devices. So the service sector will change. That's again a fantastic opportunity for all of you. Defense sector. I mean, you just name it. And everywhere there are tremendous opportunities. In any case, in defense sector, I come from a military background. We are, I think, number 3 or number 4 in terms of purchase of the defense equipment in the whole world. And if you recollect, a couple of years ago, the government of India, Prime Minister Modi said it's mandatory that the companies who are producing these weapon platforms need to invest into our country, need to pick up a partner in our country who will be manufacturing the spares. You need to transfer the technology. Therefore, a certain amount of percentage of the money that's going to be spent in defense sector will be reinvested in our country. So, and now with this COVID hitting in the entire world, there's India has already spelled it out. Many other countries have also, that it's going to be self-reliance now. We have to become even more self-reliant in everything. So from defense sector to the smallest manufacturing should happen in our country. So there's even more emphasis on manufacturing in our country, which means that there's opportunity for young people like you in various careers, be it entrepreneurial or be it employment in whatsoever, be it service sector, whatever. So everything is bound to change, but there are lots and lots of opportunities for all of you. I really don't know how long I have spoken, but yes, I think I was given about 15 minutes. Yes, it's about 4:30 right now. So thank you so much for this great opportunity for me to be able to speak to all of you. I really don't know if I've been able to cover subjects that you would have wanted to. I tried to speak about this whole situation, about disruptions, about COVID. Of course, you all need to stay safe as well, stay protected. This is also a time to build your immunity. I mean, once you are in lockdown, apart from building your knowledge in terms of reading variety of things and entertaining and seeing lots of Netflix and OTT platforms and what have you, also video calling all your friends, playing a whole lot of video games. Apart from that, you should be able to work out. do a lot of yoga exercises, do a lot of breathing, and build your immunity. I know all of you probably hate green, but that's something that's going to build your immunity as well. Believe me, I hated green veggies earlier, but now I eat it just because it's good for me. So build your immunity, build your knowledge base. This is a fantastic time for all of you, and stay safe and stay strong. This is the time for you to really blossom. I'll be happy to take questions if there are any.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your amazing, insightful remarks. And it was indeed very encouraging for us. So we'd already asked for questions and we received them on our Google Forms. We've shortlisted the final questions and we'll be asking them right now.
Sure.
The first question, in the union budget of 2020-21, a mere 0.1% of the total budget was allocated for sports, while more than 15% was allocated for defense. Do you think the government should increase its budgetary allocation for sports and decrease its spending on the defense sector?
Well, actually, in the defense sector, if you research carefully, in the last 10 years, the expenditure has dropped down. In 2010-11, the expenditure was about 16% of the budget, 16.5% of the budget. Now it's dropped down, as you stated, to 15%. Our budget is also, defense budget has also remained about 1.2 to 1.5 of the GDP, much lesser than our adversaries and other countries. Like US has about 3.5% of their GDP constantly being spent on defense. China has a very large budget. They spend about, I think, $790 billion every year. It's the second largest country in the world in terms of defense expenditure, second to US. Their defense budget would also be about 3% of the GDP. Now, you need to understand, you spoke basically about sports. The expenditure hasn't, rather the budget hasn't really come down for sports. What they've done is that they have increased.
Excuse me.
Sorry, there was, yeah. The Khelo India budget, the amount of funding for incentives in the budget may seem reduced, but that's not the case. What has happened is, in the last year, 2 years, we have cleared all the backlog of incentive money. So we've all paid up for years which had not been paid, has all been paid up. So now the budget is required only for this concurrent year. So that's why it seems as if it's reduced, but it's not reduced, it's actually increased. Also remember that sports is a state subject. It's not even a concurrent subject. It's not a central subject. So the policies for the sports, the laws for the sports are made by the states. The states are supposed to spend on sports. But what happens when players from 2 or 3 different states come together, right? That's the time the center spends money on them. And that's why the training academies, the Indian teams are taken care of by the central funding. So there's not been a drop in funding.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to this question. Layoff companies are on the rise, recruit offers being revoked, and an increase in unemployment seems inevitable. How will the stimulus package for talent acquisition help in restoring employment and also give a boost to it?
Look, the first and foremost thing when you talk about employment and restoring employment, the first and foremost thing is to get the economy back in order. There's large amount of stimulus package that's been announced. And there's credit lines now available with companies. Their salaries have been taken care of. So basic idea is that you get these businesses back on their feet, give them the confidence that there is money available through the government of India via the banks for them to sustain themselves. Also, it's important to build, to add value to this whole chain so that we are supplying within our country better products, and also are being able to export products. So look at newer markets. When all of these things happen, automatically the job requirements or the job openings will start happening. So the whole stimulus to the economy is being done, keeping in mind that there's more jobs available in times to come. And being the way we all are, it's human nature that any adversity, people will there'll be a set of people who will face it head on, and they will emerge victorious from that adversity and more stronger. And when that happens across the whole country, there's bound to be increase in job vacancies. This is a glitch which will last for just a couple of months.
Okay, yes, we understand. The third question: ensure that people in rural areas practice all the preventive measures against COVID-19. What steps do you suggest for creation of small-scale enterprises to make them financially independent?
So in the rural areas, people are very, very aware of how they need to live their life, how they need to create a viable economy for themselves. But I think what is required is technology reaching them, opportunities reaching them, for the rural people to be able to look beyond a few kilometers, look beyond to the bigger cities, and perhaps even look beyond the national boundaries. I mean, when I spoke about farmer-producer organization, imagine if we were able to bring in farmers together, and we've already started doing that in our constituency. The product then, a small farmer is sort of dependent on the person who's there at the mandi to buy his product. But when large number of farmers come together, then they will be able to move their product directly to, let's say Dubai, early morning flight, and all the tomatoes and all the onions, and they go off to a foreign country, to a better market. So similarly, when banks are available to give loans, small loans, which has been largely done in the Mudra scheme, less than 50,000 up to 5 lakhs, without any collaterals. This helps a lot of people to set up their small-scale industries. They're producing soaps, they're producing washing powders, they're producing small footwear. All of these things happen when loans are available. So bringing knowledge, bringing the resources together to these people, and also if you bring ideas, and intelligent people like yourself, when they come and pitch their ideas in the rural areas for better marketing of the product, it makes a lot of difference. Hello.
Hello, am I audible?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
Next question. Given the condition of our economy and the pandemic at hand, stimulating finances to channelize more funds towards sports will prove to be more of a challenge. How do you think this challenge can be overcome?
So there are various methods of getting funding for sports. These leagues are a fantastic idea. They create a value chain for everyone, and therefore it's a win-win for everyone. Now the leagues have started for many sports, many different sports. Also, the government is already now thinking in terms of getting money through CSR. So sports is part of CSR, and there's very large amount of money available in CSR. So getting the various bigger companies on board for promotion of sports in our country, for excellence of sports in our country. So in a typical, so we have something called, if you are a bit knowledgeable, I'll tell you, we have something called National Sports Development Fund. So all the funding for the excellence in sports doesn't come from just the budget. it also comes from the National Sports Development Fund. Now, this is the fund that gives money to all the elite athletes to train and excel themselves. Corporates are free to contribute to the NSDF. We were now thinking, we are actively thinking in the government that we not just have corporates sort of donating to this fund, but also come and sit on the board of this National Sports Development Fund. Once a corporate is sitting on the board, then they feel that much more confident for their money being utilized. So believe me, there is no dearth of money for excellence in sports. What is really required is a sense of belief and hunger to go beyond. And there are many examples of small nations who are nowhere in terms of even financial strength as compared to India, but they are producing medals. Finally, it boils down not to the resources, but to the hunger and willpower of a person to achieve something.
So we had one more question relevant to this. So as you said that we have enough funds and we all know that we have talent as well. So being a country of 1.3 billion people, why are we still not able to get more and more medals in Olympics? For example, we just have 28 medals so far, and there are more than 40 countries which have more than that, whose tally is more than that. So what do you think happens with us when it comes to high-level medals?
So if I was to compare this with, let's say, a family that has the largest number of members, they should have the maximum jobs, they must be into the best businesses because it's the most populated family, right? But it doesn't work that way. It's not the population that makes a difference, it is the determination that makes a difference. Also remember that in our country, the focus on sports, even at the level of the families, had not been there. It's only coming in now that sports is now becoming a career, it's becoming financially viable. Otherwise, जब हम खेलते थे, जब हम छोटे थे तो खेलने का जैसे ही बोलते थे, माँ पहले तो कान पकड़ के खींचती थी, बोलती थी पहले पढ़ाई करो, कहाँ नौकरी कौन करेगा, जॉब कौन करेगा. So the world is now changed. So the families need to also create a sporting culture. Your society needs to also create a sporting culture. That's when smaller champions will start emerging. You know, the very first medal that you win, or forget a medal, the very first shabashi you get on your back cannot be at the level of Olympics, cannot be at the level of national championship. It has to be in your mohalla championship, right? When you have a badminton tournament, or you have a Satolia tournament, or you have Stapu tournament or something like that, and you win there, or you have a what do you call a skipping rope competition or something, whatever you have, that's where you need to get your first shabashi.
Thank you, sir. We have one more question from one of the professors of our college, Mr. Saurabh Gupta. The question is, how is the government planning to bring back migrant laborers to the cities back for normal functioning of factories?
Well, this is going to be very challenging for next about a year or so. I foresee that the rates of labor would go up, skilled labor again would go up. You also remember that you also need to provide security to them. See, we all have our houses. What about security, safety and security to them? So they need to have houses. That's why now this rental housing scheme has been launched by Government of India. And also the Prime Minister has always been talking of creating houses for everyone. I mean, a lot of work has already happened. I know in every panchayat of mine, and all of you students are most welcome to come and visit Jaipur Rural. I'll be more than happy once this whole situation becomes normal. I'll be very happy if you visit Jaipur Rural and come and see for yourself. In every single panchayat, at least 100 houses have been made of people who did not have a roof over their head ever. So yes, we have moved ahead, but this needs to be done in a bigger way as well. Migrant labor needs to, so either migrant labor comes back to the factories or the factories move to areas where skilled labor is there. So they move out of the cities, less expenditure on the manufacturing as well, because they move away from the cities. Electricity, water, everything will change. So a lot of things will change.
So the last question for today. Do you believe there must be a central fund allocation system which should support underfunded sports and restrict piling up on the others?
Well, to make all of you understand, the Ministry of Sports prioritizes sports. And as per the priority of sports, then allots funds to them. Obviously, where we have the maximum chances of winning medals becomes the highest priority. Where we have lesser chances of winning medals and where there are lesser medals in the Olympics, they become lower priority. It's simple method where there's prioritization done even in everywhere. You have a certain amount of money in your pocket, you will always prioritize where you will spend it first, right? You want to spend everywhere, but where will you spend it first, right? It's always prioritized. That's the reason, so that there's concentrated effort onto those sports where there's maximum chances of winning medals. Also remember that it's also incumbent on the federations to generate their own resources. Unfortunately, very few federations are generating their own revenues. They're totally dependent on the government. On one hand, the federations say that the government can interfere in sports. They also say that we are a society, we are totally independent, and yet they ask for 100% funding from Government of India. These two things don't match each other. So, but I can say that with happiness that there are a lot of federations now that are finding ways to generate revenue for themselves by tying up with corporate houses to create leagues so that it becomes more interesting for people to watch the sport. It's good for the sportspersons, it's good for the federation, it's good for the sponsors, it's good for the corporate house. So it's a win-win for all. Media comes in as well. So the audience also likes it. So smart people have to come out with smart methods to find solutions.
Right. Thank you, sir. As the session nears its end, I would like to express our heartfelt gratitude to you for sparing time out and conducting this insightful session. I would also like to thank General Coordinator of IQAC, Dr. C.S. Sharma, and Dr. Saroj Joshi, who is the Faculty Advisor of Finance and Investment Cell. It has been a great session, and it was good to have so many participants with us, and it was all very smooth. Thank you, sir. Over to Saroj, ma'am.
So thank you so much, sir, for such an insightful and a wonderful session. We all thoroughly enjoyed each and every moment of it. And it was wonderful to have you here. Or maybe once the lockdown is over, we would be having the privilege to invite you over the SRCC premises also. And I would also take this opportunity to thank Dr. C.S. Sharma, IQAC coordinator, my dear colleagues, Malika ma'am, Saurabh sir, my entire FIC team, IQAC team, and all the participants for this session. Thank you, everyone. It was indeed a blessing to have you all with us. And finally, thank you, Rajyavardhan sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Been to SRCC earlier. It's a lovely facility, institution. Thank you to all the participants hearing us out and giving me an opportunity. Thank you for all your coordinators who put this whole program through. If ever you have any of the questions, I'd be happy to answer on my social media. So thank you so much. Wish you all the best.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.